Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a favorite books that I read during 2020, which I'm very excited about. This year has not been my greatest reading year. I finished the IB program this year, which took a lot more time and dedication than I thought it would have taken, but I finished it and I'm finally on my reading grind again. I have been reading a lot lately, and also throughout the year. It's not that I stopped reading, it's just that it took me longer to finish books. So I am very excited to be bringing this video to you guys. I read some amazing books this year that I do want to share with you guys. So without any further ado, let's get started. Also, I will be reading a lot more in 2021 because I do have a break from like now to next year in September when the new academic year starts. So I am very excited about that as well. I will be reading a lot and making book recommendation videos and reading blogs and things like that, so stay tuned. Right, so the first book I will be talking about is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. I don't know how to put this book into words. It was an amazing read. I enjoyed it so much. My friends that also read the book loved it as well. Born a Crime is an autobiography by Trevor Noah. It's a comedic autobiography. I thought it was hilarious. While I was reading it, I was literally laughing out loud. What I loved about this book is that when I was reading it, I felt as though Trevor Noah was talking to me. He was narrating one-on-one. It just felt like I was being told a story, which I really enjoyed. It's not a difficult read at all. It is about Trevor Noah's upbringing during apartheid in South Africa during the last years of apartheid. And so it was really interesting for me because I did know about the apartheid. I do know about Nelson Mandela, and I do know about some other things that occurred during this time in South Africa. However, I thought it was really interesting to learn about this outside of an academic setting, and it was his personal experience and so reflective, and I loved how he used reason in order to show how absurd racism can be, as well as misogyny. He also touched on that topic a lot. I think he had a lot of themes in the book, which is why it's hard to grasp the book into one summary without exploring the different themes. However, I do not want to take away this experience for you guys if you do want to read it. He used a lot of analogies, which I also loved. If you have seen his stand-up comedy or his talk show, you would know that the way he talks is hilarious as well. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. I personally was laughing out loud, and I would definitely also recommend it. I also wanted to talk about the title, which is Born a Crime. His mom was black and his dad was white. The reason why the book is called Born a Crime is because they were an interracial mix. I guess that's how you can say it, because they're not married or a couple or anything like that. According to the Morality Act under apartheid, black people and white people couldn't have sexual relations, and so mixed babies were kind of illegal. And the reason why it's called Born a Crime is because he's literally born a crime. His birth was a crime according to the Morality Act. The second book I want to talk about, I actually do have a physical version of it, and that book is Little Women by LOUISA May Alcott. I thought this was an amazing book. I loved it. It's about 4 sisters and their upbringing, them growing up in such a warm household. It does talk about their domestic issues and the issues that were going on during the late 1880s. The situation with women and poverty, as well as the war, because it is based during the second half of the US Civil War. So overall, I just really enjoyed this read. It is kind of long. It doesn't seem with this edition, but you can tell that the the writing is really small. That's why I don't recommend, if you want to read this book, I don't recommend getting this edition. Still a great edition. I loved highlighting it because the paper is great. However, if your eyes get tired a lot, I think this tiny letter could strain your eyes, which is what happened to me and why I kind of had to take a lot of breaks from it. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I thought the themes were amazing. I think Louisa May Alcott has such a beautiful grasp of the English language. I think she writes amazingly. She has a way with words that just astound me. You know, she can touch upon the themes of like guilt, of femininity, of just general life lessons in such a like beautiful way. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed it more for the messages and the lessons learned than rather the plot, because I do think that the end was kind of weak in my personal opinion. I thought it was kind of rushed. The 2019 film adaptation does kind of bring that back to the reader. It does show why it ended that way, which I thought was really nice because it did explain kind of to me why it was so rushed at the end. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I love Laurie. I think he's my book crush right now. So yes, I would definitely recommend it. I did forget to mention one thing about Little Women, which was that it doesn't have one specific plot. So if you do like those types of books, then maybe this is not the book for you. However, if you do like books that are more based on the characters than rather one single plot, then I think you will really like it. They all have different likes, hobbies, endeavors that don't necessarily revolve around just a single plot. Then I do really think you will enjoy this book, especially because you get to know these characters outside of a single event, which I really enjoyed. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Pearl by John Steinbeck. I did read the translated version in Spanish. However, I do think that the English version could be equally amazing. What I loved about this book is that there are different ways of interpreting the novel, especially after watching the movie, which I did watch, and I thought it was amazing. The book is basically about this man named Kino and his son Coyotito and his wife Juana. Coyotito gets bitten by a scorpion and he needs to find a pearl because he is a pearl diver, so he wants to find a pearl in order to help his son because he is very poor, so no doctor wants to help him because he doesn't have any money, so they won't get paid. And he eventually does find a pearl, and it's this ginormous pearl that everybody at the end wants, and so people are just wanting it. Throughout the book, I did find this evil, mysterious type of language being used for the way the pearl was manipulating Gino and everyone around him. There is certain musicality to the way it was written as well, which I really enjoyed. I think what I liked the most about this book is the fact that, again, it has different ways of interpreting the social aspect or the psychological aspect, but I also think I really liked the main message that it sent at the end about how when a person receives something, they will always want more. However, we do have to enjoy the things that we have right now. I really did enjoy the book. It is a short read as well. It is based in Mexico during the golden age in Mexico, which I also really enjoyed. I think like Steinbeck's influence, the geography and the time period is amazing as well. But yes, I would recommend reading the book as well as watching the movie, because you can see the different perspectives, as it also talks about colonialism. It touches upon those themes as well, which I very much enjoyed as well. This next book is my most recent read, which is The Handmaid's Tale, and I have to say I loved it as well. I really like the dystopian genre, which is why I also really enjoyed this book. But what I thought was very different from The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood was that it talked about a dystopia and transition and in the early years. So you can see the main character and the narrator, her name is Fred. It's not really Fred, it's a different name, but that's her name under the Gilead regime. Basically, she has lived in our type of society in the 1990s. She has been in this kind of democratic state. However, Gilead, this religious movement, took over and killed the president and Congress and just took over the government and the country, and they started implementing this new religious method of thinking and lifestyle. And so I think what is great about this book is that she's able to compare her life before to the dystopia, and she makes a lot of references to how there's kind of like an ignorance, and for future generations it will be easier, not because the regime is better, but because they don't have anything to compare it to. And so I thought that was amazing. I think she also has such a great way with words as well. I thought it was an amazing read. I very much enjoyed it, and I thought the book was just great. Basically, now I'm going to talk about what the actual book is about. It's about Fred, the narrator, being a handmaid, which is basically a woman that goes to a household and has sex with the man of the house, or the commander, the husband, and carries his child because infertility was rising in the US during this time period, and they did want to keep the population growing. She touches upon so many themes as well, and I think she does it so beautifully and wonderfully. And basically, this society, I would argue that its main point is to oppress women. Obviously, that's not the main point of this government. There are other things that they're trying to manage, but I think because the narrator is a handmaid and she's talking about her experience, I did feel it like that, because in Gilead, women aren't allowed to read, aren't allowed to have any purpose in life besides reproducing, gossiping, and staying at home. I just found it fascinating how Gilead worked as a whole. The series could be very good as well. I have not watched it, but I do want to watch it. I also really enjoyed the self-reflexivity of the narrator throughout the book. Like I mentioned, she's constantly comparing and saying, well, they say it's like this, but what if it's like this? She's always reflecting on what she's being told and the information she's being given by this totalitarian regime. Okay, this last book I'm going to be talking about, I read it in Spanish because that is the original version of it, but it is The House of Bernarda Alba by Federico Garcia Lorca. This play I thought was amazing. There isn't a lot of stage directions in the play, but it does have these maids which do function as a chorus to some extent, because they're talking about what is happening. Basically, Bernarda Alba's second husband just passed away, and she's forcing her daughters to have a mourning period of around 8 years. So she does have a daughter that was a product of her first marriage, but she also has daughters from her second marriage, and the first daughter is named Angustias, and she has inherited a large sum of money. She's around 39 years old, I believe, or her late 30s. So she has inherited a large sum of money. She is considered kind of old for her age during this time period. And then her younger daughters from her second marriage get very small sums of money. And so the fact that she has inherited so much, the first daughter, Angustias, attracts this man in her town called Pepe el Romano, but Adela, the younger daughter, is critiquing this, saying that he doesn't love her, that he's using her for money. And there are also different topics it touches upon, like a rebellion. I thought the characters were super impactful. I think the way it was written was super impactful as well. Interesting and dark to some extent. I think Garcia Lorca just had such a way of making the topic of feminism be seen and kind of critiquing that society of the time, which is Spain. during the Second Republic. I just thought that was an amazing play. Alright everyone, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you try out some of the books. I also would really like to know what books you guys read this year or your favorite books that you read this year. I already have a list of around 40 books in my TBR that I need to read next year, which I am also really excited to start. Leave down below any book recommendations. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like down below and to subscribe if you want to see more from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.